Guys, it's me, Jen the Taxidermy Witch, and I'm out and about. We are on some travels over to visit family, and I thought that I would show you a little bit of this book that I got last year for Christmas from my mother. And so let's take a look. It is called Taxidermy Art, and it is by Robert Marbury. Okay, it says, a rogue guide to the work, the culture, and how to do it yourself. Interesting. The first page looks like hair, which is really cool. And then, like, honestly, I wish, and I probably will at some point, get 2 copies of this book. One set just to read and keep, and the other set because these pictures are so gorgeous. I want to cut it apart and make art out of the pictures. So anyway, it gives you some really lovely pictures, ideas, etc. But it also gives you information on how to actually do some taxidermy yourself and some advice on how to get started with minimal equipment. So let's read the table of contents. The introduction, a taxidermy primer, the canon, pioneers in natural history, taxidermy, and art, the artists, the workshops, further reading, places to visit, supplies, legal resources, glossary, acknowledgments, and index. Y'all know I love an index, seriously. A book has to have a good index, or if you're using it for a tool, for research, it's not something that you can make sure that you get all of the information from the book, if you understand what I mean. Okay, so talks about what is taxidermy, a brief history, taxidermy and the law, which is really important. So it also gives you some information on the Migratory Bird Treaty Act of 1918. I had no idea it started in 1918. I thought it was a lot more recent than that. It talks about Canyon. In the mid-1950s, painter and artist Robert Rauschenberg began to make artwork described as combines, picking up pieces of ephemera from the streets of New York City. What's ephemera? So yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff about like rogue artists. It tells you how to do rogue taxidermy 101. And what is rogue taxidermy? I'll tell you. A gene of pop surrealist art characterized by mixed media sculptures containing traditional taxidermy materials used in an unconventional manner. What?
Dogs are attacking this guy.
You had to interrupt my video for that, babe. Come on. A return to the craft of taxidermy, emergence of collecting, the internet, some resources there. Talks about different animals along the way, which I think is really cool. What else? Now we're on to the next chapter called The Canon. If I called it The Canyon before, I apologize. It's The Canon, and it's pioneers in natural history, taxidermy, and art. Who knew that there were, the pioneers of taxidermy? I mean, these are really cool things that nobody really gives credit to. So I feel like we'll definitely be reading this book on my channel, chapter by chapter, and getting into these lovely people who were the pioneers of something that I hold so dear and awesome. And how many of us like the oddity of taxidermy? If you like oddities, you like taxidermy in general, unless you're a vegan in full form, right? And I completely respect that as well. But when I collect taxidermy, it's because I'm trying to let the spirit of the animal, we can enjoy its presence for longer. If it goes in the ground and it's dead and buried, maybe its life didn't have enough purpose. Maybe it died before its time for meat and it fed a family. Well, now you can enjoy that piece for all of time. And that's really beautiful in my opinion. So it talks about some different artists. Talks about Sabrina Brewer. And I'll show you one of her pieces. She looks like a lady that I would like to meet. This is some cool stuff, some mixed pieces. Last year, Alex got me a piece of mixed media taxidermy, which I don't think I've shown you guys yet. And I'm really excited to. So, I'm not going to say what it is so that you'll make sure to watch the episode. These are some pretty interesting things. In Seattle, you can find these at the Ye Old Curiosity Shop. I think they charge like $200 or $300 for them. And in this book, it tells you a simple way to make them because I was flipping through. And I'm going to skip through the artists here and... these are fun. See, it gives you ideas. Like, you could just do stuffed animal taxidermy. You know, you can make it into a funny mount for a child's bedroom. Like, take a big giant stuffed elephant that you think looks really good. And even if it doesn't look really good, isn't that even better in a way? And then make it on, like, take a taxidermy mount and make it onto that. If you have sewing skills, you can sew the piece yourself. Look at this. That is so good. So good. Is that an English bulldog on a teddy bear? Here's a bulldog head on a teddy bear.
Or a boxer.
Or a boxer. Mixing greens with the taxidermy. Foliage, living plants with taxidermy. That's interesting because you'd have to cut a hole into the mold or the model. And then, you know, the plant would grow out of it. That's actually a really, really cool idea. These are great. So, beyond the artist, which is the main chunk of the book, right? Beyond the artists, there's just some really amazing pieces in here. So, yeah, the bulk of it is the artist. Now, in the end, just like in the beginning, we get back to the smaller chapters, the workshop, and it goes into what you need before you begin, all of the tools that you'll need to start taxidermy. So let's talk about those super quick. Talks about how to set up a workspace. It talks about the essential tools and materials, which it lists as a pen or pencil and a journal, cardboard or butcher paper, plastic bags, paper towels, latex gloves as an optional thing. Or, no, if you're allergic, then obviously get something else. Borax, scalpel, scissors, wire brush, clothespins, dish detergent, bucket, hardwood, sawdust, or corncob grit. Any witch has those materials pretty much. Sandpaper, strong knife, woodworking tools, strong wax thread or twine, 6-pound fishing line, wire of various gauges, leather needle, a needle for sewing through leather. And most of the needles I use on my crafting videos, they're those giant ones with the big eyes. Those are leather needles. Hide paste, liquid nails, liquid chalk. This won't be for every piece, but, you know, if you're getting ready to do a big piece, this is what you'll need. Insect or Euro pins, spray bottle filled with water, woodworking tools, paper clips, air dry clay, which is what I use in my videos. I know, Zale, you had asked about that, and that's the air dry clay that I showed you. Cotton and a hairdryer. So, sourcing animals. Now, it gives you loads of ways to source animals. If you choose not to hunt animals for your mounts, here are some no-kill options. Roadkill is a great source for dead animals. Just remember that roadkill laws vary, so you will need to familiarize yourself with your personal state laws. I think that's absolutely nuts that maybe in some places you wouldn't be able to take it. But I know that the laws here allow us to take roadkill off the road. And especially in the winter, if it's like snowing outside and there's roadkill, it is frozen and preserved right there for you. So there are certain things that you could carry in your car, which might look terrible if somebody didn't know what you were doing, but like, you know, rope to drag it to the car, a plastic bag, like big plastic sheets of plastic, and just wrap it up and take it home and clean it. And there's YouTube videos galore for how to clean roadkill. So that's a great source, and you are harming none. You know, if anything, you're giving that animal more time to be viewed as beautiful, okay? Pet stores and animal food suppliers sell frozen feeder animals like mice, guinea pigs, rabbits, piglets, and chicks. intended for snakes, raptors, and other carnivorous domestic pets, like piranhas and such too. Hides and skins can be found online through eBay, taxidermy.net, and other auction sites. It remains your responsibility to follow up on the legality again. Like, for our owl, in order for us to have it, we have to have all the documented paperwork, and we do. And you have to make sure, because not every seller on eBay, you have to make sure that they're sending it with paperwork, you know, because otherwise you can't have it. And it would be illegal for you, and as long as they've done and sold it to you, they're kind of out of the trouble of that, right? Ethnic food markets and butchers are good sources for animals that have already been killed for the food stream, like frogs, chickens, and fish. And just like in American Horror Story, the recent season that came out, Kathy Bates goes in and asks for a goat skull for her workings, and you can sure as heck go into Arabic butchers in Seattle, and they will give you any parts of the animal. So that's one place that I've been into personally that I know that you can walk into as a... Is that what you call them, a Middle Eastern butcher that practices the halal butcher? And there was a place in Seattle that that I used to go to. So you can definitely check out one of those, because they, as far as I know, a lot of those butchers also do the animal butchering right in the place that you're at. Like just in the back. And so what I'm saying is that they'll have every piece of the animal, the feet, the skull, the whatever. So if you're looking for something like that, there would be a place that could definitely cater to what you would need, right? They would also have the hides. They probably have no use for any of the hides, right? So you could ask on that. All right. Cowhide is something I don't have, but I would love to have. One of my closest girlfriends has a cowhide rug in her living room, and I'm just always in awe of it. It's gorgeous. Ethnic food markets and butchers are... Oh, I said that. If you're interested in repurposing a mount, they can be found at yard sales, junk stores, and online auctions. Again, and I do a lot of yard sailing for horns, mounts. We've found tons of mannequins that way, old dolls, witches' jars, etc. But on the taxidermy lines of things, there's a site that I used for a long time called Mercari. You could use local buy-sell trade apps like OfferUp in the United States, Craigslist. Do that safely, of course. All of those things where you're meeting someone, do them safely. But we've gotten a lot of taxidermy via Craigslist and local kind of like garage sale apps. I don't know what else to call them, but you guys will know what I mean, I'm sure. Alright, because if I know a part of the internet, I'm sure you know it. I don't know a ton of it. Local farms can be a good resource for animals that die at birth or of natural causes. Absolutely, absolutely. And what you can do too is be a friend of a local farm, meaning like go there to get your goat milk for your Cleopatra baths, right? Or go there to get your goat milk for your family to drink because it helps alkalize your body. It's the only dairy that does that. Go there, become a friend of the farm so that they know and trust that you're a good person before you start asking for all these weird, wonky things, right? And then, you know, ask them, tell them what you do. I tell them I do taxidermy art and I work with taxidermy and I want to find a beautiful way to repurpose the animals that were miscarried or stillborn or whatever, and then they will, I'm sure, gladly at that point give them to you, either free of charge or at a small cost, right? So and maybe sometimes they don't hold on to those animals and they just bury them, so maybe you're now really taking on a new thing for that life, and I think that's great. So it gives you a bunch of tips on collecting roadkill, so I'll do a whole video on that. You know, like how to tell if it's alive, or is it how the resources for collecting in your area, or how to tell if it was someone's pet, crazily enough. Like, honestly, if it was an alligator and you're in a state that has alligators roaming around, like, what, Florida? I don't know. Do they have, in a state with alligators, it could be somebody's pet. So, you know, this thing gives you some... I just realized that in Texas there's going to be armadillos for roadkill. Like, I just saw this picture and I'm like, ah! So that's another big, gigantic bonus. Think of all the magics also that you could do in the armadillo shell, because and they're all over. I hear there's just so much roadkill of them in Texas. It tells you how to go about the stuffing process, and so yeah, if you guys, and give me comments if you're interested in this. If you are, I'll get on it quicker than some other things that I've been, thinking of doing. It gives you a full squirrel lesson on how to taxidermy a squirrel. I also know that baby chicks are really easy, and, any kind of real small animal is going to be easier, and you don't have to have, like, a traditional mount. You can just make one out of foam, and then the eyes you can buy online. There's a bird lesson. Why have I never looked through this whole entire book? I think I just looked at the pictures and I didn't even see that there was all this beautiful information. So see how easy it is to just make some stuffing out of what you've got around. Also, you could add witchcraft herbs into the stuffing. Like, think of doing your own taxidermy from a small animal, okay? Blessing it in very ritualistically of your own right. Like, you are here with me in my room to protect me or look after me or keep me safe, right? And then you stuff the bird with a bunch of protective herbs. How magical would that be? So on my channel, we'll definitely be doing something like that, where I actually do a small piece of taxidermy for you. That's something to look forward to in the future. Now, there's some really interesting ways to go about this. If your stomach is queasy, why are you watching this video? But no, I'm kidding. But look away if it's queasy. This is one way of doing taxidermy and bone cleaning. Is called fleshing, where you get a tank, and you can buy these bugs on eBay or from Amazon, and you get a tank of bugs, and you drop the roadkill in there, or you drop the gift that the offering that your cat brought you because it's God. You drop that in there, and these bugs completely clean it off for you, and that's how you feed them. And when you don't have anything to put in there, then you just feed them meat. And they don't need much. It tells you how to do wet preservation. Amazing. And everything that you'll need for it. Look, you guys, wet specimens. So cool. Tanning. Finishing. Almost done.
Florida reindeer.
Places to visit throughout the whole United States. Check this out. Different museums. Further reading. So it gives you a whole bunch of further readings on taxidermy, taxidermy art, morbid anatomy, ravishing beasts of taxidermy, etc., etc., etc. Books on art, books on natural history. Artists featured in this book. Tells all about them. Places to visit. Let's see if there's anywhere in Seattle. The Belfry, Seattle, Washington. I knew about that place, but I didn't figure it'd be in this book. So go to www.thebelfry Oddities, and you can check out the one in Seattle. Let's see if there's any in Texas. There's loads in California. LA, San Francisco. So if you guys want me to tell you, like, where these are at, just say. There's museums all over the United States. Oh, and we have to start the car. So, a bunch of great place to get taxidermy supplies online, legal resources, index. I'll let you know how that goes in a good glossary. So, come back with me, Jen the Taxidermy Witch. While we eventually on my channel, if you leave me loads of comments on how much you want this and why, then I'll do them more quickly than I would have prior. So make sure to let me know. Bye-bye.